You're listening to the Academy podcast, the podcast for people who can but don't know how. This is where you get actionable steps to turn vague dreams into blissful realities. And I'm your host, Omoshola Victoria Wolabi. So let's get started. Are you at the verge of quitting your online business? Wait. Before you do that, hear this. If you have been struggling to attract clients, I totally understand how that must feel. I was also at the verge of quitting as well because I just felt everything I was doing was making no sense, attracting no clients, and I was so broke and such in a state of despair. But fortunately, I cracked the code. I got the code and I'm about to hand it to you for free. So if you've been struggling to attract clients into your business and you're just at the verge of giving it all up, try this first. Head on over to learn.academy.org, where I share with you how to make your first $10,000 online as a brand new coach, even if you have no social media following, yes, no huge email list, and no raving testimonials yet. Head on over to see how you can create a powerful system that works to attract clients and leads for you on demand. Head on over to learn.academy.org to get started. Hi there, and welcome back to another episode of the Academy podcast. How are you all doing? How was your week? What did you get up to this week? How is everything going on in your city, your town, your location? I hope the lockdown has eased up a little bit. You're able to get out and about. I know for us here in Christchurch, we can, at least go out, we can visit friends, we can go to work. And I'm just so grateful for that. You never know what freedom means until you feel what it is to lose it, right? So welcome back to another episode. I'm delighted that you're here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I do not take it for granted that you do week after week. Now, on today's episode, we are going to be talking about a topic that I found quite interesting, called form follows functions. And this is from me just reflecting all week about this particular, I'll call it a phrase, form follows function. I've just been reflecting on it, and I'm going to be sharing some of those reflections with you on this episode. So I was reading a book by, I think she's the first female architect in Nigeria. Her name is Mrs. Olajumoke Adenowo. And that was where I saw this term called form follows function, because she's an architect and this is something that she is, she uses quite a bit in her field of work, right? So I took the phrase and I went deeper. I researched it more because I was just fascinated by this phrase. And I discovered that the term form follows function is a principle of design. Now, we're going to be looking at this phrase as a continuation from our last conversation. Now, in the last episode, we attempted to answer the question, who am I, right? We uncovered in the last episode that man is indeed a mystery, right? That cannot be easily unraveled. And when I say man, and I'm not talking about the gender, I'm actually talking about man as in humanity. So it could be man or woman, right? If you have man in your title, right, I'm talking to you. So women are also included in this conversation. So I'm not talking about the gender. When I use the terminology man, I'm talking about the human race, right? And we uncovered on the last episode that man is indeed a mystery that cannot be unraveled. So when I came across this phrase called form follows function as a principle of design, it got me thinking, and I researched more about it only to find out that this term was coined by another architect called Louis Henry Sullivan in an essay that he wrote in 1896. Yes, I don't think my grandparents were even born then. But anyway, so I'm going to read you an excerpt from the essay because I found that too. And it says, whether it be the sweeping eagle in his flight or the open apple blossom, the toiling workhorse, the blithe swan, the branching oak, the winding stream at its base, the drifting clouds, over all the coursing sun, form ever follows function, and this is the law. Where function does not change, form does not change, right? And then it continues to say, the granite rocks, the ever-brooding hills remain for ages. The lightning lives, comes into shape, and dies in a twinkling. Form follows function. So basically, the gist of the whole thing that I read now is form is a principle, right, that proposes that a building's purpose, obviously, this is a term from architecture. So it says it's a principle that proposes that a building's purpose should be the starting point for its design rather than its aesthetics. So basically, before you attempt to build anything, right, the function of that thing, what that thing will do, should determine the form that it takes. That is what this architect was trying to emphasize in this essay that he wrote, right? And it got me thinking. I recently renovated my home office and I went shopping for some furniture and for a new stationery, new furniture. And while I was shopping in the store, I came across really beautiful pieces of furniture. Like I was talking like beautiful desk, but the ones that I actually decided to buy, the ones that came home with me, I bought because of the function that they would fulfill. So they're not the most beautiful desk, right? If I was going to go by aesthetics, I would have chosen something else. But because the goal here was function, how would this function? What would I use it for? That was the biggest influence on my buying decision that day, right? So this principle came into be that day. I saw really, really nice, beautiful furniture that I would rather have brought home if we're to be left to aesthetics alone. But I was focused on the function, right? And I remember one time I went into a store and I bought this wall painting. It was so beautiful and it was affordable. So I bought it because it was beautiful. But guess what? To this day, that painting sits in the closet because I bought it purely on aesthetics without thinking of what the function would be. Do I have space for this? How would it fit into the overall theme of my house, right? We're going somewhere. Hang with me, okay? And if we look at this principle of form following function, we will see this principle in action. So to be honest, it was not Louis Henry Sullivan's idea. It was actually God's idea because we see this principle in action in Genesis 1:26. Now, prior to Genesis 1, chapter 26, we see God has created the heavens and the earth, He's created the ocean, He's created everything. And then He comes in verse 26 to say, let us make man in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, over the livestock, and all wild animals, and over all creatures that move along the ground. 27, so God created mankind in His own image. In the image of God, He created them. Male and female, He created them. So we see here that this principle of form following function was what God used at the very beginning, at the inception of humanity. He followed the same principle because he said, let us make man in our image or likeness, right? So in the last episode, we talked about that image word actually being translated. It means to be a representation of someone, right? And in our likeness means to give God-like abilities. A little bit of what God is, a little bit of the essence of who God is was given to us. That is what it means to be made in the likeness of God, right? But remember that this form, so our form was created because we are supposed to fulfill a specific function. And it tells us here blatantly in Genesis 1:26, so that we may rule over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, the livestock, the wild animals, the creatures. That is why we are the most intelligent of God's creations, because He created us that way. He gave us some unique abilities. He gave us the gift of language. I was listening to this message recently by the Potter's House, right? And it was a message by Dr. Anita. And she was talking about how what makes us truly unique is nothing other than the fact that we can string a bunch of words and sound together to make it language. So this is an ability God also possesses. God is a speaking spirit, and we are also speaking spirits, right? So this is an ability that we possess because we require this ability to rule, to dominate, to subdue, to have dominion over the earth, right? So form, the way we were formed, follows function. So we are designed to function in a certain way, We are here for a purpose. That is why we are functioned the way we are formed, rather, the way we are. That is why you have your eyes where it is, you have your brain where it is, you have your hands, you have your legs, because all of this form that you have is designed to fulfill a specific function. And the same way, where you were born, the country you live, how you grew up, everything that you may think has happened to you for good or bad is all designed, all of those things are the form of who you are to fulfill a specific function, right? Now, if we go on to Genesis 2 5 to 7, now we see that principle again at work. It's emphasized again because now it says, now, no shrub, Genesis 2 5, no shrub had yet appeared on the earth, and no plant had yet sprung up. For the Lord had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no one to walk the ground. Now remember that the function, that there was something to do, but God could not bring rain on the ground because there was no one to work it. But the streams came up from the earth and watered the whole surface of the ground. Then the Lord formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. Now, remember in Genesis 1 that we just read now, he had already created mankind in his image and in his likeness, male and female. But then when we get to Genesis number 2, it's telling us now that there was no one to walk the ground. So where is the man and the woman the male and female rather, that he created in Genesis 1? Why were they not there? That he had to then form the man, right? Remember that word, form follows function. So where was the male and female that he created in Genesis 1:27? Why are we now in Genesis 2:6? And we see that there is nobody to walk the ground? What happened to those people? Let me deliver you today. From every thought that you are less than, that you are an accident, that you are a mistake, you are not a mistake. What this tells us is in Genesis 1, God had created the spirits, male and female. They already existed in Genesis 1, but they had not materialized into the physical form. They already existed in the spirit. God had created both male and female. And then when he saw that there was no one to walk the ground, now the function required, there was a function to fulfill. Now the form existed already in the spirit. He just transported that spirit now into a living being. Then he made man from the dust of the ground and then breathed into his nostrils. What he did was he called forth a male spirit from the spirit he had already created in his image and his likeness, and deposited that into the container, into the body that he had formed, so that that form could fulfill a specific function of work. So let me tell you, your parents got together because you had to be born, not the other way around. You already existed in the spirit. God has already created every body that needs to be created. It's finite. Everybody, all 7 billion of us that exist on the planet, already existed in the spirit. We just started to come at a specific time, at a specific place, so that we can fulfill a specific function. So do not go around thinking you are here by accident, or your birth was a mistake, or you don't know what your purpose is because you just think you were just born by accident. That's not true, right? God didn't just look at your parents and decide, oh, let me just give them a child. No. When your parents got together, they only got together because you had to be here. You had to be born. And when they got together, God just called forth that spirit of you that already existed and just gave you a body through your parents to fulfill the function that he wants you to fulfill. Okay? So form will always precede function. Form follows function, not the other way around. So quit the excuses of, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not beautiful enough, my accent is not good enough. Whatever the, not good enough is in your life, it's time to quit those excuses now, because your form follows function. The way you've been created is perfect. God does not make a mistake. The way you have been created, the country of your birth, the language you speak, the accent you have, everything forms you to fulfill a specific function on earth. And I'll see you in the next episode, where we're going to be talking about something very interesting. I'm going to loop that one here. I don't want to give it away, so that I'll see you back here next week. And until then, Have a lovely rest of your week and keep on shining. This episode is sponsored by our very own MOGUL Mindset Training. Are you ready to embrace new experiences, see opportunities where you thought there was none, and totally surprise yourself? Because you can by unleashing the power of your mind. Mogul Mindset System is a 5-step system that helps you retrain your mind to work with you and not against you, so you can awaken your inner giant, 10x your impact, your income, and become truly unstoppable. The truth is, you, my friend, have a superpower, your creative genius, and I'm here to make that power multiply manyfold so you can get past fear, self-doubt, and finally start working and thriving in your life and business. Ready to unleash your superpowers? I thought you would. Head over to mogul.icandemy.org. That's mogul.icandemy.org to learn more. So there you have it. Thank you so much for listening. And for more content like this, follow us on our social media handles. On Facebook, it's at Icandemy, the Facebook page. On Instagram, it's at Icandemy. Or come say hello over on my personal page. On Instagram, it's at Omoshola Speaks. On Facebook, it's Victoria Wallaby. Feel free to reach out, introduce yourself, say hello. I love meeting you. And if you have any stories that you feel will inspire another woman to action, I want to hear from you. I really do. I love hearing from you. Send me an email to hello@icandemy.org. So it's hello@icandemy.org.